If you wore a military uniform anytime before 1985, there's a decades-old VA program that could add a real, ongoing monthly payment to your income, and it has nothing to do with combat wounds or filing a disability claim. Most veterans have simply never heard of it, and that's not an accident of information. It's just one of those programs that never gets talked about because it doesn't make headlines. The benefit is called VA pension, and the first thing to understand is what it isn't. It isn't VA disability compensation, which requires proving a medical condition is linked to your time in service. VA pension works completely differently. It's a needs based program for wartime veterans, meaning it looks at your service dates, your age or health status, and your current income and assets, not whether you were ever hurt while serving. That distinction alone explains why so many veterans assume this doesn't apply to them. They hear VA benefit and picture a disability rating, so they scroll right past it. To qualify for VA pension, you generally need at least 90 days of total active duty service, with at least one day falling during a period Congress has officially recognized as wartime. Those periods include World War II, the Korean War, and the Vietnam era, which officially ran into the mid 1970s. If you enlisted any time before 1985, there's a strong chance your service window overlaps with one of those wartime periods, even if you personally never left the country, never fired a weapon, and spent your whole enlistment stateside doing paperwork or maintenance. The VA doesn't require boots on the ground combat for this one. It requires that a slice of your service calendar lines up with a recognized wartime period. Think of a Vietnam era Army veteran, now in his late 70s, who never deployed overseas but served his full term domestically in the early 70s. He's living on Social Security and a small part time pension. He assumes VA benefits are for the guys who saw combat. He's exactly the kind of veteran this program was built for, and he likely has no idea. Or consider a Korean War veteran's widow in her 80s managing rising care costs on a fixed income. She may qualify for a related benefit called survivor's pension, based on her late husband's wartime service, not her own. Quick pause here. If you're finding this useful, tap like and subscribe. It helps this kind of practical, no fluff information reach more veterans and retirees who need it. And that's really the goal of this channel. Now, the part that confuses almost everyone, income and asset limits. VA pension does set a ceiling on countable income and net worth. And yes, that includes more than your checking account. It can include certain investments and resources beyond cash. But here's the detail that changes everything for a lot of applicants. Unreimbursed medical expenses can be deducted from your countable income before the VA decides whether you qualify. That means costs like assisted living fees, in-home caregiver payments, prescription costs, and even Medicare premiums can lower your countable income on paper, sometimes enough to move someone from over the limit to qualified. A veteran who assumes he makes too much based on his gross income might actually clear the bar once his real medical costs are factored in correctly. That naturally leads into aid and attendance, an added monthly amount on top of basic VA pension for veterans or surviving spouses who need help with everyday activities like bathing, dressing, or preparing meals, or who are largely confined to their home. This isn't limited to service-related conditions. It's about your current functional needs, whatever caused them. If your family is currently paying out of pocket for home health aides, adult daycare, or a room in an assisted living facility, this is precisely the kind of expense aid and attendance was designed to help offset. And it's routinely missed by families who've only ever heard of VA disability and stopped looking there. Some veterans believe that receiving Social Security automatically disqualifies them from VA pension. It doesn't. Social Security income is counted in the overall income calculation, but it's one factor among several, and it gets weighed against your countable income limit after deductible medical expenses are applied. A modest Social Security check, combined with real medical costs, can still leave plenty of room to qualify. The same goes for a small pension or a limited retirement account. Having some income isn't the same as being ineligible. Eligibility generally requires a discharge that wasn't dishonorable. And some veterans were told decades ago, rightly or wrongly, that their discharge status closed this door permanently. But discharge upgrades and reviews do happen, and some veterans who assumed they were permanently excluded have had their status reviewed and revisited years later. If that's ever been a sticking point in your family, it may not be as final as you were told back then. Now, here's the mistake that quietly costs eligible veterans and widows real money every year, and it's worth paying close attention to. Many people never apply because they assume this program is only for veterans in extreme financial hardship. They picture it as a last resort safety net, not something for someone with a decent social security check and a paid off house. In reality, eligibility is based on the specific numbers, your actual income, your actual net worth, and your actual documented medical expenses, not a general impression of your financial situation. The only reliable way to know is to run your real numbers. And the good news is, you don't have to guess or pay anyone to do it. Accredited veteran service officers, often through organizations like the DAV, VFW, or American Legion, will review your specific situation completely free of charge and tell you honestly whether you're likely to qualify before you file anything. I want to save for those of you still with me because it's the single biggest reason applications get denied when the veteran may have actually qualified. When people apply, they frequently leave out full documentation of their ongoing medical and care expenses, monthly statements for assisted living, receipts for in home care, records of prescription costs, proof of Medicare premiums. Without that paperwork, the VA can only evaluate your raw income, which might look too high on its own, even though your real documented expenses would bring you under the limit. This one gap, missing expense documentation, is responsible for a huge share of pension claims that get reduced or denied unnecessarily. If you take one concrete step from this video before you apply, gather every statement and receipt tied to recurring medical or care costs, going back as far as you reasonably can. It's also worth knowing this isn't a one-time payment. When approved, VA pension pays out monthly, in addition to whatever else you're already receiving, whether that's Social Security or a small private pension. For a surviving spouse, survivor's pension works the same way, providing a recurring monthly amount based on the veteran's qualifying wartime service and the survivor's own financial picture, layered with aid and attendance for those who need extra help at home or in a facility. This can add up to meaningful monthly support for a household managing a fixed income and rising care costs. If you served any time before 1985, World War II, Korea, or the Vietnam era, and you're now managing a limited income, age-related health needs, or the cost of ongoing care, there's a genuine chance VA pension and possibly aid and attendance could apply to you or a surviving spouse, regardless of whether any health condition is connected to your service at all. The single most important thing to remember is this. Don't rule yourself out based on assumptions about combat service, income, or an old discharge issue. The only way to know for certain is to actually check your specific numbers. So here's your one action for today. Contact an accredited veteran service officer, either directly through the VA or through the DAV, VFW, or American Legion, and ask them to walk through your income, assets, and medical expenses with you. It costs nothing. It takes an honest half hour, and it might uncover a benefit that's been available to you or your family this entire time without anyone mentioning it. If this was helpful, pass it along to a veteran, a spouse, or a parent who served decades ago and may have no idea this exists. Thanks for spending this time with me. Take good care, and I'll catch you in the next one.